One Piece Set 9, The Four Emperors, is just around the corner, and with the introduction of Shanks, Buggy, and Blackbeard leaders, man, the hype has never been higher. A new set release means it's pre-release time, but this time around it's called the second anniversary event. Yeah, I know, this game has been out for 2 years now, and Bandai wants to celebrate this by giving out an exclusive Garp Dawn, as well as your chance at getting 3 alternate art versions of the Starter Deck 13 leaders. With all the prizes on the line this year, obviously you want to do well, and maybe even win. But how? Well, you've come to the right video, and I know just the right acronym for such an occasion. Victor. Now, speaking of, where did he go? Hey Victor, wake up! I haven't seen you since the last video on Set 8. Have you really been asleep this entire time? Well, Set 9 is almost here, so come on, let's go! The first letter of Victor is for vanillas. While useless in constructed formats, these are the gold standard for playable cards in the sealed format. Why do we call them vanillas? Well, that's because they're missing flavor. They don't have any ability text for us to rely on. They just come on the board and they just start a swinging. So just like vanilla ice cream, it's pretty basic. I still love you, vanilla. But where they lack in abilities, they have some very solid stats, a good power to cost ratio, and the addition of 1000 counter. So make sure you add as many of these as you can to your deck, as long as they can swing for 5000 at your opponent. The I in Victor stands for interaction. Just trading blows back and forth, attacking, countering, blocking, yada yada, not exactly the most exciting thing to be doing, so let's spice it up a little bit with some interaction. Reduce a character's power to make attacking into it easier, rest a character to either get rid of a pesky blocker or get some damage in, or even KO a character. These are all great forms of interaction. Starting with common, we've got some pretty awesome options like Special Muggy Ball, allow your opponent to choose to return a card back to their hand. Now, not the best played when your opponent has some very cheap cards on the field, but when they don't, it's very good tempo play. And when it comes to resting things, we've got Monkey D. Luffy as well as Gum Gum Jump Rope. Resting things is a great way to either take out characters or potentially push in extra attacks through blockers. And then finally, we've got Brook and Shashi and Penguin, 2 great ways to reduce power on characters, making it really easy for you to attack into said characters without committing too much Dawn. At uncommon, we've got Thunder Lance Flip Child Protective Services. Honestly, I don't know what the rest of the card says, I just made that up. But anyways, great option for you to be able to KO a 4 or less card for 3 Dawn. As well as Gum Gum Lightning, which is a great way to get rid of one of your opponent's 6000 power or less characters, especially on your 10 Dawn turn, since you'll jump back up to 10 Dawn on the following turn. At rare, we've got Sakazuki. As long as you've got 2 other rested characters, he's going to come in and KO a 5 cost or less. Finally, at super rare, we've got Ben Beckman, allowing you to get rid of any character with 6000 power or less via trashing, which means we get around any of those pesky KO effects. C in Victor stands for counter. Pop quiz, what's the number 1 way you lose the game? It's because you don't have enough counter to get out of an attack. So let's make sure we add as many 2000 counter cards as we open to our decks to ensure that we can survive as we push into the late game. In the sealed format, 2k counters are king, so ensure that you have as many as you can in your deck to make your deck better. Honestly, in one of the previous pre-releases, I had 14 2000 counters, which means, yes, I got first place. The T in Victor stands for threats. Hey, pop quiz, what wins games? Well, that would be powerful characters. In a format with limited removal, the powerful characters are king. And I mean quite literally, because we've got the King of the Pirates, Gol D. Roger, in this set as a secret rare, and honestly, a very strong card in limited. Alongside Roger, we've also got a very powerful rush threat in Monkey D. Luffy at secret rare, allowing you both to recoup a card for playing it, as well as having a rushing 10k body. At super rare, we've got Shanks and Sanji. Shanks being a very big rusher at 12k power, but also having the ability to reduce your opponent's character's power makes it really hard for them to swing back at you. And then we've got Sanji, a great card that allows you to minus just 1 Dawn in this format to rest his 6 cost or less and give his 7000 power body rush. At rare, our threats are Yasop and Nico Robin. Yasop being a great card that's going to bump your leader's power up to at least 6,000, maybe 7 if you're using one of those cheeky 6k power leaders. But being a 6k leader makes your opponent maybe have to commit a little bit extra Dawn to be able to force some very powerful swings, while also allowing you to ensure that you can just use 1k counters to get out of 6k swings. For Nico Robin, if you play her at the right time, you'll be able to trash the top card of your opponent's life, which is a huge tempo swing in this format because cards in hand are key. For uncommon, I don't have any great recommendations, but at the common level, we've got 2 cards. Kozuki Odin, which is a huge body that has double strike, as well as the ability to draw you some extra cards when he's KO'd, and Bonk Punch. Yes, this seems like a pretty off-the-wall card, but for 1 Dawn attached, he can swing as an 8k power character, allowing you to both contest the board, as well as contest your opponent's life total. The O in Victor stands for obstacles. What are the best obstacles in the game? Blockers. Man, I can't tell you how many times a 2-cost blocker has saved me from lethal. So that's why I recommend you add every blocker you can into your deck. In this set, there are 15 blockers across the various rarities. We've got 4 blockers at common, 4 blockers at uncommon, 3 at rare, and 4 at super rare. With 15 available blockers in this set, yeah, if you're gonna play Yamato, you might as well leave that leader at home this time around. The final letter in Victor is R, which stands for reactions. The reactions category is slightly different from the counter category, as these are typically events that you're going to have to pay for, which are also going to allow you to potentially counter out of attacks, as well as potentially stop your opponents from attacking. And man, is this set lacking in the reaction department, as there's only one unconditional non-leader restricted card that we can play. And that card is Black Vortex, which is honestly a very strong card, giving minus 4,000 power, as well as negating the ability of the character or leader that you're targeting, but pretty lackluster when it comes to having Dawn up for events this time around. And that pretty much sums up the basics of Victor. So now that you've gotten an idea of the acronym and potential ways to build your pre-release deck, let's now talk about some solid leaders that you can play. Personally, I like to categorize leaders in 2 different categories this time around, and that is the aggressive category and the defensive category. For aggressive, we have the staple leader from Starter Deck 2, and that's Eustace Captain Kidd. For a 3 Dawn investment, as well as discarding a card, you'll be able to swing at additional time with your leader, which happens to be pretty decent against Bonnie, because sometimes they'll rest your leader the first time, and then you can untap it and still swing with it. Another staple aggressive leader is Zoro, who benefits your deck for going wide, because he'll give that natural 1,000 power across the board, making it easier for you to get attacks in on both your opponent's life and your opponent's board. From set 3, we've got Katakuri, and this leader is very good at pushing damage. For just 1 Dawn investment, you're going to be able to swing 7,000 power at a character or leader every single turn, with the added benefit of being able to manipulate life. Now, 7k swings are nothing to scoff at in this format, as it'll at least require your opponent to at least have 2 cards to get out of it, assuming they have at least a 2k counter, and if not, you're going to get at least 3 cards out of their hand if they don't take the hit. And I like to throw this last leader in here as a nice little honorary mention, just because I did well with it back in OP09, and this is Starter Deck 1's Monkey D. Luffy. Now, with the ability to just attach a rested Dawn to your leader or a character, basically means that you could have a 6k attacking leader every single turn while also playing on curve. You may be asking yourself, where's Yamato? Well, as I mentioned earlier in the video, there are 15 blockers in this set. So good luck getting through attacks on this one, so maybe sit that leader at home. As part of the defensive category, we've got 3 options to work with. Bonnie, being honestly one of the best leaders in the sealed format, basically causing your opponent to have 1 less attacker every single turn for just 1 Dawn investment on your side, is incredibly powerful. A second option is Enel, which is a great option for resiliency, as you can pretty much stay at 1 life for as long as you can, assuming that you keep enough counter in your hand to do so. So it allows you to play a little more aggressively, taking a few additional hits, because you always know that you'll have that 1 life to fall back on. From this set, we've got a new leader we can add to the pile of defense leaders for sealed, and that is Shanks. So I like to look at Shanks as kind of an alternative to Bonnie. Shanks will basically neuter a 5k attack or make 1 attack easier to counter out of, which in this format, making an attack only require a 1k instead of a 2k is pretty strong. And I think that's about all I've got for you. So hopefully you take some of these tips with you to the pre-release this weekend and hopefully win some games and potentially walk away with some awesome alternate art leaders. You know I'm rooting for you, and so is Victor. If you enjoyed this type of video, definitely subscribe and leave a like on the video. Obviously join the crew, and we'll see you in the next video.